And welcome back to the Just in Time podcast. It's been a while, obviously, since I've recorded an episode. I apologize for that inconvenience. I know y'all have all been patiently waiting for the next episode to come out. This is episode 25. I'm excited to be here today. Again, I apologize for the lack of content recently, but we're going to have a lot to talk about this episode. It's March, so we're approaching March Madness with college basketball. The NFL Draft Combine is underway, and there have been some huge performances already from a lot of big names. The NBA is on fire, and Victor Wembanyama is taking over. So there's lots to talk about across different sports. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in with some football and the NFL Draft Combine. This has been one of the fastest NFL Draft Combines of all time. With the way these athletes have ran their 40-yard dash times, I've been able to update my draft board and been able to evaluate these prospects, getting a better sense of where they rank amongst each other. With the Senior Bowl and Combine completed, the only thing that awaits before the draft in April is pro days from certain prospects. And that'll be a huge deal because we'll see guys that, haven't really participated much, like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, actually throw the football and actually, show off their arm talent and stuff like that. But I just want to go through a mock draft that I made where I was the GM for each NFL team. At the moment, these are the guys I think will slide in through the draft as of right now. Lots of teams have a lot of different needs, and if there's a pick y'all don't necessarily agree on based on needs or fit, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm not perfect. I'm not an NFL scout. I'm not an NFL GM, but I did watch a lot of college football this past season. I've evaluated a lot of these prospects that are coming up in this NFL draft. So I've got a pretty good feeling on where certain players might end up just based on their draft grades they've received and team fits and so on. So with Mock Draft 1.0 of the Just in Time podcast, let's go with this Mock Draft 1.0. In this mock draft, I did this entire mock draft with no trades. You could probably count on a few trades happening near the draft or on draft day. Just for instance, I think New England at number 3 is a prime spot to snag one of these top 3 quarterbacks. I think Miami at number 21 is also a spot where some of the contenders could look to trade up to take the best available wide receiver talents, like perhaps Xavier Worthy or A.D. Mitchell from Texas. Hook 'em horns. But nonetheless, no trades in this mock draft 1.0. I'll continue to make mock drafts throughout the weeks as more and more information gets released. A lot of these picks, I believe, make sense, but if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comment section with which picks you disagree with and what would you do in that scenario. But before we get right into the mock draft 1.0, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the Just in Time podcast. If you like this content, I'll be sure to put out more and more content. As the future goes on, it's my job to try to stay consistent and all that. And I've been terrible at it these past few weeks, but or month maybe, but new job, new life updates and stuff like that. So not trying to throw any excuses out there. Let's just go ahead and get right into the mock draft 1.0. Be sure to subscribe to the Just in Time podcast. It's free, it helps me out, and I very much do appreciate it. So let's get this underway with the first pick in the NFL draft. The Chicago Bears take quarterback Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is projected to be the first overall pick in this upcoming draft. He probably would have been the number 1 pick coming out of the draft last year. He's just so good. I mean, I remember his freshman year at Oklahoma, where he came onto the scene during the Red River Shootout game versus Texas. He replaced Spencer Rattler in that big game, and he dominated. He looked like a true vet out there, made all the winning plays that they needed to make. And he's only gotten better since. He looked really good that year at Oklahoma, transferred to USC the following year, his sophomore season, had a big sophomore season campaign where he won the Heisman Trophy as a sophomore. Then he flashed forward this past season, his junior year, where he also had a really good year, but, he didn't light it up the way people were expecting him. He didn't win enough games for USC to stay competitive and make the college football playoff like many thought USC could. So nonetheless, Caleb Williams is a great quarterback. I think for Chicago, this makes a lot of sense because you reset the quarterback timeline. A lot of people might say, Chicago was pretty good with Justin Fields this past year. Why wouldn't they keep Justin Fields? And the main thing I have is that you're going to have to pay Justin Fields a big contract. And I'm not so sure that Justin Fields has quite really earned that kind of quarterback money that he's looking on getting. And it's not a knock on Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields. I was high on him when he came out of the draft. But the thing is, for Chicago that has the number one pick right here in their lap, it just makes too much sense to reset the quarterback timeline and to take Caleb Williams number one and then to trade off Justin Fields, sending him to somewhere else where you can have success elsewhere. Chicago also has pick number 9 in the first round, so they're going to be looking to stack those first round picks and really nail both of them and to try to make this team a winning one in the next couple of years. So I have the Chicago Bears taking Caleb Williams number 1. Number 2, the Washington Commanders take Jaden Daniels. This might be a shocker to some of y'all, but I personally have Jaden Daniels ranked above Drake May when it comes to big board stuff. So for that instance alone, I'm going to put Jaden Daniels above Drake May and have him being taken by Washington number 2. I think this is a spot where you can't go wrong with either quarterback, Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And I'm not doing trades in this mock draft. And I really do think the Commanders really need a new quarterback. I like Sam Howell, but I think Jaden Daniels and Drake May have better potential. And I like Jaden Daniels' game a lot at LSU. Thought he was one of the top players in the entirety of college football, hence why he won the Heisman Trophy. I think he'd be a good fit for Washington. And at number 3, we're going to move on to number 3. The New England Patriots select quarterback Drake May. I think this is a pretty good fit for both sides. New England desperately gets that quarterback they've been wanting. They weren't too happy with Mac Jones this past year. I know that for sure. I think Mac Jones is a pretty great quarterback, but he was really good in college. But, at the NFL level, you got to be able to extend plays and stuff like that. He just doesn't provide that for you as a quarterback. Drake May is younger. He's got a bigger arm. He's got that scrambling talent. So, I think it can make a lot of sense to fit-wise in New England. Obviously, I said before this that this would be a prime spot for New England to trade down. I think that there's a lot of things wrong with New England's football team. They can use a lot of different positions. I think wide receiver is a glaring hole. Just the lack of wide receiver talent they have there. Marvin Harrison Jr. could make sense here for the Patriots at 3 as well. But I just think in this upcoming draft, you're going to see 3 quarterbacks getting taken in the top 3. You're going to see Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May all taken in the first 3. In my opinion, that may change come draft day or whatever, but we'll see. In this mock draft at number 4, I got Arizona taking wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. Basically the best wide receiver in college football. This past season, I would have made the argument that Malik Neighbors deserved the best wide receiver award, which is like the Belinkinoff. I think that's how you pronounce it or something like that. But nonetheless, Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, really good wide receiver prospect, probably the best wide receiver prospect we've seen in the last decade, honestly. This guy at 6'4" just does it all at an extremely high level. Can play in the slot, can play as a deep threat, can play as a playmaker. He can play off of handoffs and like jet sweeps and stuff like that. He's good with yards after the catch. He's got great hands, great route running ability, great speed for his size. You really can't nitpick him too much. He's a great player. He's going to be a productive one wherever he goes. And I truly think that for a team like Arizona, pairing up Kyler Murray with the just superb talent that Marvin Harrison Jr. is could really make a lot of sense for Arizona there. That kind of needs that wide receiver jolt. I think they're letting go of Marquise Brown, letting him walk in free agency. So you definitely need that wide receiver 1. Marvin Harrison Jr. can definitely be that for them. So got the Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. At 5, the Los Angeles Chargers. I have them selecting offensive tackle Joe Alt. I know a lot of Chargers fans might not like that pick, but it ain't the sexy pick. But Joe Alt is the best offensive lineman in this draft, according to me. I think that he is. He was phenomenal at Notre Dame. And Chargers, new head coach with Harbaugh coming in from Michigan. You already have Rashawn Slater as a tackle. Slide in Joe Alt as a tackle, and then you have your tackle duo for the foreseeable future. I think a lot of Chargers fans would love to see the Chargers take a playmaker, a receiving threat for Justin Herbert at the spot. And you can't go wrong with that either. Malik Neighbors is still on the board, Roma Dunze, Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers. But I just think personally that you can't pass up on the best tackle in the draft being available for you at number 5. And I think one thing that was, that made Michigan so good this past season was their offensive line and how good it was. J.J. McCarthy had all the time in the world to throw the football. The tackles over there in the offensive line was superb. And I think Harbaugh would want to build something similar for Justin Herbert in Los Angeles. And, the rumors for Los Angeles to go after a star running back like Saquon Barkley, you're going to need a good offensive line to do that. And I'm not hating on the offensive line that Los Angeles already has, but I'm definitely saying you're in the prime spot to take the best tackle available in the draft. Might as well do it with Joe Alt. At number 6, the New York Giants select wide receiver Malik Neighbors. This is the guy who I think was the best receiver last season, just statistically speaking. I think he was definitely robbed of that Bilignoff award, but, teach his own. We're not going to nitpick that too much because Marvin Harrison Jr. did have a great year. Malik Neighbors was solid, super fast, could play on the outside. Similar to Marvin Harrison Jr. as a prospect, but, he's like 6 foot, 6'1". And I think the thing with Malik Neighbors is that he would be a wide receiver 1 in any other draft, but I'm telling you, this wide receiver draft is probably the most stacked I've ever seen. There's a good chance that you can see the amount of wide receivers taken in the first round being broken. The all-time record is 7 wide receivers taken in the first round. I think you can see about 8 to 9 receivers taken in this first round. That's how stacked this draft class is. But New York Giants, huge lack of wide receiver talent on the roster. Malik Neighbors will come right in and be wide receiver 1 for that team. So I think that's a good fit for him. I like Malik Neighbors in New York. You could also see New York go offensive line here, go quarterback maybe. But I think it's a little too early to give up on Daniel Jones. If, for instance, one of these quarterbacks fell down the board like a Drake May or Jaden Daniels, then I think it's probably worth it to maybe think about trading up to go get him. But nonetheless, I like Malik Neighbors here. I think wide receiver should definitely be the move for the New York Giants. At number 7, the Tennessee Titans, I have them selecting offensive tackle Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. Olu Fashanu is young. He's probably, I don't know. I don't want to compare players like that. Olu Fashanu is very good, very athletic, probably the most athletic offensive lineman in this draft. He's got all the potential in the world to be a very good offensive lineman. For a team like Tennessee that is just lacking offensive lineman talent, this would be a great spot for him to take one. Tennessee, they took a quarterback last year, I think, in Will Levis. They got a lot of holes in that Tennessee team. I think offensive line is just the biggest one of them all. And I think you have to address it in round 1. And none better than getting the second best offensive tackle in the draft in Olu Fashanu. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons take edge Dallas Turner out of Alabama. This is an Atlanta Falcons team that hasn't been taking defense in the past couple of drafts in the first round. They took Drake London. They took Kyle Pitts. They took Bijan Robinson. Now's the time for them to go and take the best defensive player in the draft, in my opinion, and Dallas Turner. Really solid edge out of Alabama. Somebody that's just going to come in to be a good player for them. Give them that edge talent that can rush the quarterback. I think is very important for that Falcons team. I also think that quarterback could be at play for him here. They're a team that could be trading up to number 3 potentially with New England to try to take one of those top 3 quarterbacks. But they're also a team that's also been linked to getting Justin Fields via trade. So a lot of things going on with that Atlanta Falcons team right now. I think the safest pick for Mock Draft 1.0 is for them to take defense and going with Dallas Turner. At number 9, the Chicago Bears pick again. This is their own pick. Number 1 was Carolina's previously, but they traded that to get Bryce Young last year. So the Bears reap the benefits. They get number 1 and number 9 this year. I had them taking Caleb Williams at number 1. And at number 9, I have them taking Roma Dunze, wide receiver out of Washington. Roma Dunze, again, is one of those receivers just like Malik Neighbors and them. He's not classified as a guy that can play all these different types of routes. Not necessarily a slot guy in particular, more of a deep threat. Roma Dunze is just a very good receiver, a wide receiver one for sure. I think he gives Caleb Williams a surefire guy that could come in and grow with him. You're obviously, if you're the Chicago Bears, you keep DJ Moore. You slide in Roma Dunze as a wide receiver too. That is a nice tandem you got going on over there. Don't know what you're doing with Darnell Mooney, but if you manage to bring Darnell Mooney back, that could be a solid tandem for Caleb Williams to grow with in the future. Nonetheless, I like Caleb Williams potentially being paired up with DJ Moore and also Roma Dunze from Washington. And I know as a Texas Longhorn, I watched Roma Dunze kill us the past 2 years in both bowl games, and hurts my feelings, but it is what it is. Roma Dunze is a very good player, a very good receiver, and I think he's going to have a lot of success in the NFL. And to brag on him just a little bit more, he's one of the few players that participated at the combine and did a very good job in participating at a lot of different events. So shout out to Roma Dunze for that part. At number 10, the New York Jets. I have them taking offensive tackle Troy Fautanu out of Washington. Washington's putting up a lot of good prospects in this draft. But Troy Fautanu is a really good offensive lineman. I think he's someone that's going to get more and more buzz as we get closer to the draft. The New York Jets are a team that desperately needs to improve that offensive line for Aaron Rodgers, who's, I think, 39, coming off a major injury. And, Aaron Rodgers is not in his prime anymore. He's not going to be scrambling out the pocket. He's not going to be making these ridiculous throws. You got to give him all the time in the world to throw the football and give it to the playmakers on offense. And so I think offensive tackle makes a lot of sense here. And so, I haven't taken Troy Fautanu out of Washington. At number 11, the Minnesota Vikings. I haven't taken quarterback J.J. McCarthy. I don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins. I think that they're getting ready to pay Justin Jefferson a lot of money, making him probably the highest paid wide receiver in the league. I know he wants more than $30 million a year, and that's crazy as it is. But, Justin Jefferson is that kind of talent. I think guys like CeeDee Lamb will command the same amount of money. Nonetheless, I don't know if you're going to have a lot to pay Kirk Cousins. I don't know if you're going to have a lot to pay Daniel Hunter. I know Justin Jefferson is the main priority, and because they're going to pay him a lot of money, I think it makes a lot of sense to pair him up with a quarterback that can actually, get better and stuff, not trying to, poop on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a very, very, very good quarterback. One of the more winning quarterbacks in this past year. He had a good stint in Minnesota before he got injured. My friend is a huge Vikings fan, and he just loves Kirk Cousins, so it's probably going to pain him to, see that I mocked J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings. But J.J. McCarthy is someone that I think could really succeed with the Vikings. I think Kevin McConnell makes a lot of sense with that pairing there. Moving on from Harbaugh to McConnell, that's a pretty good thing going on right there. I think J.J. McCarthy can make all the right throws. You didn't see a lot of him throwing the football at Michigan. And I was probably really hard on him at Michigan because of the lack of the throwing ability. But that's just a Michigan team that didn't have any reason to throw the football like that. You have Donovan Edwards, you have Blake Corum as your running backs, and you had a great offensive line that could run block. So they would just run the football over everybody. J.J. McCarthy here at Minnesota, I think could be a good fit, and I think J.J. McCarthy has star potential to be, a pretty good quarterback in this league. So I like the Vikings taking quarterback J.J. McCarthy. At 12, the Denver Broncos. I have them taking quarterback Bo Nix out of Oregon. Bo Nix is someone that I think could be a very good quarterback. I think Denver, Sean Payton, they're moving on off of Russell Wilson. They just announced yesterday that they were going to release him. And I think Bo Nix is somebody that, he's got that experience. He's not like a lot of these other rookie quarterbacks where he's very young, inexperienced. Bo Nix, I think, was a fifth-year player in college. Bo Nix was like top 3 in Heisman voting this past year. And, I like Bo Nix's game a lot. I think he provides a lot of maturity as a rookie. And I think he can come in and, set the tone for Denver and what they want to do on offense. I like Bo Nix to Denver. 13, the Las Vegas Raiders. I have them taking offensive tackle Amarius Mims out of Georgia. Amarius Mims is a monster of a prospect. This dude is like 6'6", 6'7", 300 pounds, super, super athletic, a very good pass and run block. Definitely something that the Raiders need is just more offensive line talent. I can also see the Raiders taking a quarterback. Don't know if they would, stick and pick with the quarterback at 13. Maybe if one fell off the board. I could see JJ or Bo fitting in well in Las Vegas. I could also see Las Vegas trading up for one. I could also see Las Vegas, signing a vet like Russell Wilson or someone like that to just fill in the needs for him this upcoming season. But as a mock draft 1.0, I like the Raiders taking Amarius Mims. I think he's going to be very good for him. At 14, the New Orleans Saints. I have them taking edge Jared Verse out of Florida State. Jared Verse just seems like a Saints guy. He's big, he's strong, had a very good year at Florida State. I think he could be a star edge in this draft. I think he's along the lines of, being the top defensive player coming out of, off the board. I I have Dallas Turner rated slightly above him, but I could see it with Jared Verse. He was very good at Florida State. I think he would fit in really well with that Saints team that just needs some more edge rushers coming off and Cameron Jordan getting older and stuff like that. Got a lot of bets in that team. It's a very bad situation cap wise with the way their money is set up. So yeah, I like them taking Jared Verse right here. You give him time to grow with this team. I think he could turn out to be a star defensive player for him. At 15, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. This is the third LSU player taken off the board in the top 15. A very impressive job by LSU. But yeah, second wide receiver out of LSU taken here. Brian Thomas Jr. provides, big, fast receiver that can be a deep threat for him, something that Anthony Richardson is going to love. Brian Thomas Jr. was very, very good for the Tigers this past year at LSU, mainly known as a deep threat. I think that's definitely what he'll be with the Indianapolis Colts. They got Alec Pierce there. I don't know what their situation is looking like with Michael Pittman Jr., if they're going to pay him or not. You got Josh Downs, that's really good in the slot, and he can move around at different route trees if you need him to. But yeah, I like Brian Thomas Jr. to the Colts. I think he provides them a lot of what they want in a receiver. At 16, I think this pairing would just be nasty. I know similar mock drafts had this as well, but I have the Seattle Seahawks going with tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia. I think Brock Bowers is the best tight end prospect in this draft. I love Jatavion Sanders out of UT, but Brock Bowers is a very good talent. And, putting him in this offense with DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I don't know what they're looking like with Tyler Lockett, if they're going to bring it back or not, but you put a talent like Brock Bowers next to those two, whoever comes to the quarterback from next year, whether it's Geno, whether it's somebody else, they're going to have a lot of targets to throw to, and Brock Bowers is someone that good as a pass blocker, good as a run blocker, great as a receiving talent. You just can't go wrong with Brock Bowers. I can see him going as high as 5 in this draft to the Chargers. I could see Seattle also going quarterback here or something else, but for this reason, I like Brock falling to the Seattle Seahawks here at 16. At 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have them going cornerback Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, I think. Quinion Mitchell, really impressed me at the Senior Bowl, and he further impressed me at the Combine with his 40-yard dash time. With this time, I have him being cornerback 1 off the board, only because of the fact that I don't see a cornerback being taken before him. You could see Minnesota at 11 maybe taking a cornerback. I think that's a little high. But I think with what Jacksonville wants is tall, fast, man press corners. Quinion Mitchell fits the bill. And so, yeah, I like Jacksonville taking Quinion Mitchell. At 18, the Cincinnati Bengals taking offensive tackle Talise Fuaga. And Fuaga, I for the life of me, I cannot remember where he went to college. I wrote down this mock draft with just team names and where they pick and players on the side with their position. I didn't put their colleges, so if I, happen to say a person with their college, just because I know it from memory. Fuaga, I believe, came from Oregon State, I believe, and very good talent over there. I think Cincinnati needs to continue to bolster that offensive line for Joe Burrow. He already got the receiving threats with Jamar Chase, and you just franchise tag T. Higgins. That's a team that's ready to make a run if Joe Burrow is ready to stay healthy. Just continue to bolster the offensive line and give him all the time in the world he needs to throw the football. At 19, the Los Angeles Rams, I haven't taken edge. Latu. This is a Rams team that needs more juice on the defensive line. You already got Aaron Donald, who's aging, and he's still a superb talent. You had a lot of good rookies show out for him last year. You made the playoffs, and that was a great job by the Los Angeles Rams. Now it's your time to capitalize on it, taking a talent like Latu. Definitely a guy that I think could, be a very good player from day one. The only thing with him is the injury concerns. He was, I think he was not allowed to play at some college before he went to UCLA, and he dominated. But I like Latu a lot. I think he would fit well with the Rams. At 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm taking cornerback Nate Wiggins. Continue to bolster that secondary. He took Porter Jr. past season. Now you take Nate Wiggins, who is the fastest cornerback in this draft. I think he ran like a 4.2 or a 4.3. That's very, very good speed for him. Reminds me a lot of Caleb Farley a little bit, but the thing with Caleb Farley was that, he was very injury prone. I don't see that being a concern with Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. At number 21, I got the Miami Dolphins taking cornerback Ennis Rakestraw Jr. out of Missouri. I'll probably have that different in mock draft 2.0. I think Ennis Rakestraw is a very good cornerback talent. I just don't think he'll sneak into the first round with the way some of these guys have risen on the boards. Nonetheless, Rakestraw is very good as a nickel cornerback. Just a very good player in general. Can't go wrong with him there. Definitely see Miami for this being a trade down spot. A lot of receivers still on the board here. I can see them taking the tight end here with Ja'Tavion Sanders. I don't know if he falls. I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't know if he'll make it to the first round just because of the way this board has looked so far. But yeah, I think you're letting go of Xavier Howard. It just makes sense to replace that with a good secondary player. At 22, I had the Philadelphia Eagles taking cornerback Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. I think Terrion Arnold was probably my CB1 coming into the draft. He probably still is. Just makes too much sense for the Eagles. I need more help on the secondary. They didn't really get that out of Keely Ringo. They got the most out of they can out of Eli Ricks, and he's looking to be a good player for them. But, Darius Slay is all you got as a cornerback one talent. And, putting Terrion Arnold right there in that spot, he can learn and develop off of him, and that could be a good fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. At 23, I love this spot for him. I love who's available for him right here. Byron Murphy out of Texas. Houston Texans got the edge players that they need. You got some really good receivers. You could probably take a receiver here if you wanted. I'm not going to, push it. They just re-signed Dalton Schultz. You got the quarterback of the future with C.J. Stroud. You're probably going to look to sign a running back in free agency. But I love him taking Byron Murphy here, somebody on the interior defensive line. That's just a mismatch. He's smaller, but he's stronger and faster than most guys. And he's someone that I'm just really high on. Hook 'em horns, Byron Murphy, I think are going to be a perfect fit for the Houston Texans. At 24, the Dallas Cowboys, I have them taking wide receiver Xavier Worthy. And I know a lot of y'all are probably thinking offensive line here for the Cowboys since they're losing Tyron Smith and they're likely losing Tyler, the center. But I think the wide receivers are just way too good in this draft. I think the way that Xavier Worthy just broke the 40-yard dash time with the 4.21 time is just something you can't overlook. Giving Dak another weapon would be huge for this team. I don't think Michael Gallup cut it as far as, I'm not trying to poop on Michael Gallup or Brandon Cooks. They're both phenomenal players. I just think that he needs someone else to kind of give him some more juice on the offensive side of the football. And I think Xavier Worthy could really be that for you. Just to kind of take some attention off of CeeDee Lamb. It just got too often later in the year where CeeDee Lamb was getting doubled. And, he's so good. He proved that last year, but you just need to give some, give the Cowboys another receiver so they could take some of that attention off of CeeDee Lamb. So for that instance, I like Xavier Worthy here. Someone that can really bring like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill kind of speed to this team, something that we haven't had in a very long time. I mean, we got Brandon Cooks and hope that he would be that for him. And, Brandon Cooks is really good, but he's also like 30. So I could also see Adonai Mitchell being a pick for him here, but I just think he's very, very similar in regards to CeeDee Lamb. I think they want to take a different skill set if they're taking receiver here. At 25, I have the Green Bay Packers taking cornerback Cooper DeJean. I think this would be a perfect fit for them. You could slide Cooper DeJean at cornerback, safety, wherever you need. I think the Packers' main thing this offseason is improving that secondary overall. So I like that fit for them. At 26, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. He's probably the best center available on this draft. Something that could make sense for the Cowboys as well is taking Jackson Power Johnson. But Buccaneers, he just resigned Mike Evans. You got Chris Godwin. You got to figure out your quarterback situation. Quarterback could be at play here at 26. But I went safe here. I went offensive lineman. Just continue to bolster that and give the interior linemen some help. At 27, the Arizona Cardinals, I have them going J.C. Latham out of Alabama. And, you pair him up with Paris Johnson from last year. You got a tackle duo for the future for Kyler Murray. Give him some more help on the offensive line. I had them taking Marvin Harrison Jr. earlier in this draft. So you walk away in the first round with Marvin Harrison Jr. and J.C. Latham. I think that's a big win for the Cardinals. You could also see the Cardinals going defense here with the edge maybe. But I had them taking J.C. Latham. I think that makes a lot of sense. At 28, the Buffalo Bills, I have them taking Adonai Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell is basically 6'4" CeeDee Lamb, if you ask me. He was a very good player for the Longhorns this past year. He ran a 4.35 40-yard dash time at the combine. You're talking about a Buffalo team that's looking for that final piece to get them over the hump, to beat the Chiefs, to make it to the Super Bowl, and to hopefully win a Super Bowl. Well, I think they need another receiver. Stephon Diggs is really good, but he's getting old. Don't know what you're doing with Gabe Davis. You might let him walk. You might take him back. Nonetheless, I think another receiver is going to help him. And I think Adonai Mitchell could be the perfect guy for him. Could be a wide receiver one on most teams. Really good wide receiver two on this team if he's paired up with Diggs. At 29, I have the Detroit Lions taking cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry. Honestly, he could make a lot of sense at 21 for the Dolphins over Ennis Rakestraw. But nonetheless, Kool-Aid McKinstry is a very good cornerback. Kind of similar to Patrick Surtain in the way he kind of fell. But I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I like Kool-Aid McKinstry a lot here. A Lions team that just desperately needs to improve that secondary. You got a lot of playmakers already. Got a lot of offensive help. Just continue to improve that defense, that secondary mainly, because that the run stopping ability was there. I just think that secondary needs some help. At 30, the Baltimore Ravens, they go with Trey Benson out of Florida State, and I think Trey Benson is the best running back in this class. I think his performance at the draft combine has proved that. I think for a team like the Baltimore Ravens, you might think offensive line or receiver. I think running back is the big thing here. I think for a team that loves to run the football, having mediocre running backs isn't going to cut it anymore. I think if you want to win in the playoffs, why not use this pick and take the best running back available in Trey Benson? He's big, he's fast, he's elusive, he's a power back. He can do it all for you. I think he would be a great fit for Baltimore here. At 31, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. I think this makes sense with the way Trent Williams is going out with his career. He could be a great mentor to Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton is very athletic. He is a former tight end out of Oklahoma, but he transitioned to a tackle, and he was a very phenomenal tackle there. So I think he'd find a lot of success with the 49ers, and especially the way they run their offense with all these different types of runs and special RPOs and stuff like that. So I had the 49ers taking Tyler Guyton. And with the last pick of the first round, I had the Kansas City Chiefs going with wide receiver Keon Coleman out of Florida State. Keon Coleman is this big receiver, very physical. He's got great hands. Just makes a lot of sense. I can see Keon Coleman going to the Cowboys as well. I know he's a cousin of CeeDee Lamb, so that would make a lot of sense there. Could be a very fun pairing for him, but that's mock draft 1.0 for y'all. In a future episode, I'll probably do a mock draft live with a special guest. But in the meantime, let's move on to some NBA and talk about some of the exciting things going on in the hoops world. So I want to take this time to talk about Victor Wembanyama. He has been killing it, but something has stood out to me from watching a podcast. Pierre from Numbers on the Board. Shout out to Numbers on the Board through the Wire crew. Pierre, PV the Plug on Twitter. But Pierre from Numbers on the Board, formerly the Through the Wire podcast, says something that, just got stuck in my head ever since I heard it. And it was last week on an episode on the Numbers on the Board podcast where they were talking about Victor Wembanyama and how fast he's grown in this short amount of time. And he mentioned that the first half of the regular season, the pre-All-Star break, really felt like this rookie year for him. He talked about how this post-All-Star break, the second half of this regular season, what we're in right now, is really like his second year in the NBA. And when he comes back for his second year in the NBA, his actual second season, it'll be like his third year in the NBA with the way he's grown and how fast he's grown as a player. And, I threw a lot of numbers at y'all. It didn't really make a lot of sense, but the gist was that he's progressing at such a rapid rate and he's getting better and more efficient that he's just growing so fast. He's a great player. And you really see that with the games Wemby's been putting up. I have him on my fantasy team for my fantasy league, and he is ranked as the 7th best player in fantasy right now. And I know the past 2 games alone, he's been putting up like 70 plus fantasy points. He honestly, he's the best defensive player in the NBA if you ask me right now. And he's averaging like 24 points a game and like 12 rebounds the last few games. So this Spurs team, they're not great. A lot of it's personnel. A lot of it's because they're very young. I think it's a good thing that, you want to be patient and get the most out of your value when it comes to the upcoming draft capital they've accumulated over the past 2 years with the Toronto trade with Jakob Poeltl and the Atlanta trade with DeJounte Murray, and also a Charlotte protected pick in this upcoming draft that is likely going to convey to 2025 since the Hornets are not a playoff caliber team. I think that the Spurs, they can't be too patient. The media is making out to be they need to go all in right now, but I think the Spurs should definitely be buyers for the right star to pair alongside Wemby. A guy I think that makes a lot of sense is Trae Young. Trae Young has been a superstar in Atlanta, but they've made it clear that they'd like to move off of DeJounte Murray or Trae Young or both this upcoming offseason. I think Atlanta has hit their ceiling with Trae Young. And, I believe Trae's fit in San Antonio could be, remarkable. I think his lack of ability on defense could be hidden with the way Victor Wembanyama is such a good defender. I think he could thrive on the Spurs. But, that was just a name I threw out there. It don't have to be Trae Young. I also think the Spurs could just, stick and pick with their likely 2 first-round picks this upcoming draft. They're likely to get Toronto's first-round pick from the Jakob Poeltl trade, and they have their own first-round pick, which is a top 3 projected pick at the moment. Guys I look to target with these spots would be Zachary Rice-Asher out of France, Matas Buzelis from the G League Ignite, Ron Holland from the G League Ignite, Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky, Reed Shepard out of Kentucky, Cody Williams out of Colorado, and etc. A lot of good options. I think the Spurs are definitely going to be able to draft a guard here. And I also believe that Rob Dillingham is the best star potential out of all the guards in the draft. I think he's just been killing it at Kentucky, especially off the bench. I also think that wings are just, very valuable, and that if you can get an all-star caliber wing, that's what is most valuable in today's NBA. You look at guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, just think of any star wing, they're worth a lot of picks and they're worth a lot of, capital and stuff. Mikal Bridges. So I think Rice, Asher, and Williams would be great fits in that aspect. Matas Buzelis has looked very good during the All-Star weekend, and so has Ron Holland before he got injured. All in all, the Spurs can't sit around this offseason. They got to seriously upgrade the roster and, not have another season like this one. A lot of the media right now is pushing an unfair agenda against the Spurs and Wemby. Certain reporters, mainly from ESPN, claim that Wemby doesn't have the patience to wait out the Spurs in the next couple of years to find their core. I disagree. I think all the fans in San Antonio and the league want to see Wemby win as soon as possible. And, my goal for the Spurs this upcoming, this next season is, try to contend for that play-in spot. So, if possible. Lots of improvement needs to be made personnel-wise, and not just personnel-wise, a lot of guys that we have on the roster need to take jumps in development, like Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, Blake Wesley. But overall, I like the future of the Spurs. They've got their captain. They need to fill out a strong team to make us a winning team. The Spurs are bad, but they're only going to go up from here. Moving off from the Spurs for a second, we're going to talk about the rest of the NBA. I wanted to give a quick glimpse into the playoffs if they happen today. Before we dive into the bloodbath the Western Conference is shaping up to be, I want to highlight Luka Doncic and his incredible play all year long. Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks and his incredible play, it's made him to be an MVP candidate. If you ask me to pick an MVP candidate, I'm going to go ahead and say Luka Doncic from the way he's played all year round. Now, if you ask me who's going to be the Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to say Victor Wembanyama. They're probably not going to give Victor the Defensive Player of the Year just because he's a rookie, but he's definitely going to win Rookie of the Year. He's just dominated Chet in all the outings that they played in, and I think he's just looked way better than Chet. Defensively speaking, they're not going to give it to him because he's probably a rookie, even though he's averaging like 4.5, 5 blocks and steals a game. They're probably going to give it to Rudy Gobert, which, he also deserves it too. He's been really good in Minnesota. But yeah, I would have Luka as my MVP right now. Would have Wemby as my Rookie of the Year. Gobert is probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. If you ask me, I would personally put Wemby as my Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, nonetheless, let's take a look at the Western and Eastern Conference standings and what the playoffs will look like right now. And yeah, let's dive on in with the East. We're going to go bottom to top. At 15, I have the Washington Wizards. This is what the standings are. The Washington Wizards are at 15 with a record of 9-52. Not that impressive. They're a team that's definitely going to be picking in the lottery. Hopefully a team that wins that number one pick. They could definitely use a big man. Alex Sarr would be a dream fit scenario for him. I could also see him taking a point guard maybe. Nikola Jokic can make sense. A high star wing player like Zachary Rice-Asher can make sense for him. Wizards just need more talent. I think they lack the most at big, which is why I think Alex Sarr makes the most sense for them. At 14, the Detroit Pistons. They're at 14 with a record of 9-51. A team that, kind of been all over the place this past year. Haven't seen a lot of winning. Monty Williams in the rotation has been kind of crazy. I think a wing makes a lot of sense here. Assure mainly. Yeah, I would just look for a wing at this spot right here for the Pistons. At 13 in the East, the Charlotte Hornets have a record of 15-46. They've been pretty bad all year long. LaMelo Ball has been hurt. They just got Trey Mann and them in trade. A wing could make sense for him here. Maybe a guard, depending on who's available. But yeah, Hornets are bad. They're going to be picking the lottery. Since they're bad and they're going to be picking the lottery, it means the Spurs won't get their pick this year. They'll get their pick next year. And that's probably a good thing because the draft next year is still going to be a better one this year. At 12, the Toronto Raptors with the record of 23-38. Definitely a team that is capable of making the play-in. They're in that play-in route right there. They can, win a couple games, go their way. They can be in that play-in spot. But um, yeah, team that needs more talent. They can use a guard. Um, I think they like Jakob Poeltl as their big man. Don't think they would win the lottery and take number one overall. But if they did, Alex Sark makes sense for them. I like them going to guard there though. At 11, the Brooklyn Nets with the record of 24-37. I really wish Brooklyn would hit the reset button and just commit to that rebuild. But the GM and owner is pretty set on making Brooklyn not a losing team. And so with that, they want to keep Mikal Bridges at all costs. And so yeah, Brooklyn has a lot of good big men. You might let Claxton go. You might not. You drafted Clowney last year. I think a guard can make a lot of sense for Brooklyn. At 10, with the Atlanta Hawks, this would be from here on out, this is the play-in. So the Atlanta Hawks at 10 with the record of 26-34. Trae Young is out right now with the injury. I just think they've peaked with the DeJounte and Trae experience. I think they've peaked with Trae Young with this team and how they try to put all these defenders around him. I think it's really time for Atlanta to just, take their L with DeJounte Murray or Trae Young, just ship them off, get what you can draft capital wise, and, reboot with Jalen Johnson as your main guy. At 9, Chicago Bulls with a record of 29-32. Chicago has been pretty unfortunate with the way, Zach LaVine has, took that season-ending surgery. Lonzo Ball has been healthy the past 2 years. This is a Chicago team that was just, at the top of the East, like 2 years ago with Lonzo, LaVine, DeRozan, and Vooch as their main guys. And now they're the 9th seed in the East. But Chicago could use a lot. A team that I think could definitely hit the reset button as well and start that rebuilding process. They just need any kind of young talent to build around. At 8, the Indiana Pacers with the 34-28 record have been trending downwards. A team that I'm pretty high on, but they've been looking pretty down these past few weeks. I know Tyrese Halliburton sold me so bad on a slip that I made with gambling. So not the biggest Tyrese Halliburton fan at the moment, but nonetheless, he's had a phenomenal season. Had a great showing at the All-Star game. He's been a little hurt, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And, yeah. Nonetheless, to that 8 seed, I think if they got matched up with, Milwaukee in the playoffs, that would be very entertaining to watch. At 7, the Miami Heat with 34-26 record. They're turning upwards. Jimmy Butler is entering that playoff mode where he's just taking every game seriously. They just signed Patty Mills today. Huge signing for them. They had Terry Rozier traded to him a little before the trade deadline. So that was a good move by the Miami Heat. They're taking strides. They look like a good team. They look like a better team than last year. I think they can make some noise in the playoffs. At 6, the Orlando Magic with the record of 35-26. This is a young Magic team. I don't see them going out of the first round, but just happy with the progress they've made and the jumps that Paolo and Franz have taken, and Jalen Suggs as well. At 5, the Philadelphia 76ers with the record of 35-25, holding on to dear life. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey for balling out against the Mavs. Also Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre. But Philadelphia is just desperately hoping for their best player, former MVP Joel Embiid, to come back and to, make a playoff run. At 4, the New York Knicks with the record of 36-25. You're definitely hoping that Brunson and Randall and OG come back healthy. Health is a big thing for them. If they're all healthy, I like their chances at upsetting some of these teams. I think Jalen Brunson is so underrated. He's so good. Same with OG. Yeah, I like the Knicks. I just hope that they're, able to get healthy enough in time for the playoffs. At 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers with the record of 39-21. They've definitely been trending upwards since they've gotten Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, and Jared Allen all back for that team. Yeah, I like the Cavaliers a lot. I think they're gonna make a lot of noise in the East. I don't know if they're gonna make it very, past the. I don't know. We'll talk about the Cavs later on. I just think the two teams above them are better than them. At number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks with the record of 41-21. This is a team that my friend Isaiah is very high on. Shout out Isaiah. But the Bucks, you got Damian Lillard, you got Giannis is going through an Achilles injury right now. Don't know if he's going to play tomorrow, I think. But nonetheless, Milwaukee's a good team. I just don't know if they have enough to beat the team that's number 1 in the East, and that's the Boston Celtics. With the record of 48-12. I still have the Boston Celtics as my favorites to take home the title this season. I think their starting 5 is the best in basketball. They've looked really impressive all year long, and I don't think there's anyone that has a better shot at winning it all coming out of the Eastern Conference. So with that being said, I have the Boston Celtics claiming the East still to this day. But let's talk about this bloodbath of the West. We're going to start off with the worst to the best, just like we did for the East. Let's get the 15-11 out of the way, and then we can really talk about the play-in, which is looking to be very impressive. Dead last in the West is my Spurs at 13-48. It's been a tough year. Love the improvements in the jumps that Jeremy Sohan, Blake Wesley, Devin Vassell, Victor Wembanyama have taken. Just hope that they can continue to grow and hope that we can be a better team next season. At 14, the Portland Trailblazers have 17-43. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Just a team nobody expected to be that good this past year or this season. At 13, the Grizzlies are at 21-41. That jaw suspension hurt them. Jaw getting hurt definitely hurt them. Desmond Bane getting hurt them. I mean, there's just so many injuries that hit this team, so many adversity that they've had to gone through, and the record shows it. They're 21-41. They're in the prime spot to add somebody very good to this team in this upcoming draft. I think somebody like Ron Holland would be a good fit, maybe a Matas Buzelis, just a wing or someone that can slide in at that 3 spot, be a tall wing, be a good wing for the Grizzlies. At 12, the Houston Rockets with a record of 26-34. Houston was, trending towards a playing spot earlier in the year. They've kind of trended downwards. Just from, a number of sorts of things. The main thing with them is the offense just hasn't been very steady and stuff like that. Defensively, lights out. They've been very good on defense, but offensively, they need to figure out their identity. And, yeah, they're looking to take another good player in this upcoming draft. At 11, the Utah Jazz with a record of 28-34. Utah, shout out Keontae George. One of my favorite players this past year. He's been killing it in Utah. I really like their young core going forward over there. I like Larry Markkinen. I love Will Hardy as a head coach. I just like the future for the Utah Jazz, and I'm very hopeful to see what they come up with later on down the line. This is where it gets fun. At 10, the Golden State Warriors with a record of 32-28. This Warriors team has gone through a lot of ups and downs this past year. A lot of the media has written them off, and they kind of came back and said they just threw it in their face, and they said they're still a really good team. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson's taken on his bench role, which has been very good for him. Draymond Green is finally available to play. Faced a lot of suspensions and stuff earlier in this past year. Jonathan Kuminga, the jump he's taken has been phenomenal. I'm still a big fan of Moses Moody. I think he's looked pretty good for him. Kevon Looney, Trace Jackson Davis, Chris Paul is finally back from injury. Chris Paul, one of my favorite point guards of all time. I used to have a Chris Paul New Orleans Hornets jerseys. That was a really cool jersey. Wish I would have kept that. Don't know what happened to it, but yeah, big fan of CP3. Big fan of the Warriors. Don't know how well they're gonna do just because of personnel reasons and how they match up with other teams in the West. I think they like a lot of defense, and if they're not, they got blown out by like 40 plus by the Celtics this Sunday, so that's how they look like versus top teams. At 9, the Los Angeles Lakers with a record of 34-29. The Lakers are a team I would not want to play in the playoffs. If you have a healthy LeBron and a healthy Anthony Davis, anything is possible. D'Angelo Russell has looked very comfortable this whole season. Austin Reeves is coming into his own. Yeah, I like this Lakers team. I think they can make some noise. I think this Lakers team is definitely one I would not want to play if they win the play-in. At 8, the Dallas Mavericks with a record of 34-27. Luka Magic, man. Luka, MVP Luka has been killing it for the Mavericks. Kyrie Irving's looked really good. They made trades for PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford that really, boosted their roster talent with the big man. You're just hoping that somebody can be that, main third option, whether it's Josh Green or Tim Hardaway Jr. or somebody like that, just stepping up and being a good tertiary scorer for Kyrie and Luka. Something I definitely want the Mavs to start doing more of is the way they kind of let Luka run the offense and just, play through him. Times when Luka's on the bench, let Kyrie Irving do the same thing on that end. I think oftentimes you let Kyrie take too long to get momentum and to get going in games, and that hurts him. It hurt him when they tried to make that comeback against Philly on Sunday. And overall, I think Dallas is in that same boat as the Lakers. I would not want to play them in that first round. At 7, the Sacramento Kings with a record of 34-26. Shout out De'Aaron Fox. Shout out Mike Brown, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, all the great crew over there. I just think if you're in the playing spot, usually the teams with the better players are going to win. I think the Mavs and the Lakers will come out victorious in that playing spot. 6-1. These are the teams that are locked into the playoffs as of right now. The Phoenix Suns at 6 with the record of 35-26. Booker is hurt right now. I think he's hurt for the next few games. You're counting on Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant to, step up in production and stuff like that. Shout out Yusuf Nurkic for having a career high rebounding game. I think he had like 31 rebounds. That's ridiculous. Phoenix has been playing some very good basketball. You just got to hope that they're able to out offense a lot of teams because you're not gonna beat very many teams with your defense. At number 5, the New Orleans Pelicans with a record of 36-25. This is a good defensive team. This is a team that kind of lacks offense, honestly, but Brandon Ingram came off a really good game. Zion Williamson just needs to stay healthy and on the court. I love rookie Jordan Hawkins so far. I like this Pelicans team. Just don't know how much success they'll have in the playoffs compared to the teams above them. And at number 4, the Los Angeles Clippers with a record of 39-21. This Clippers team is one that can win it all. I think that when healthy, they've shown this regular season that they can compete with anybody. James Harden has looked so comfortable being that third option as a scorer and, being that main playmaker. Russell Westbrook off the bench could be a 6-man of the year candidate. Kawhi Leonard has looked phenomenal this year. Just staying healthy has looked so good for him. You cannot count out a healthy Kawhi. Paul George has looked very good for him. There's been times where he's been bad, but there's been a lot of times where he's been good. So I like this Clippers team. If they can stay healthy, they're a scary team in the West. At the 3 spot is the Denver Nuggets, the current champs for 42-19 as of right now. Definitely a team that can sneak up and get that number 1 spot. Definitely a team that can repeat. They've been pretty good all year round. They just need to stay healthy, keep this core together, and continue to ride through Jokic. But the Nuggets are a great team, could definitely repeat. At 2, this might be a surprise to a lot of people, but the way they played this season has been phenomenal. The Oklahoma City Thunder with a record of 42-19. Shout out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being an MVP candidate. I know I said he wasn't going to win Rookie of the Year, but shout out Chet Holmgren for being, a candidate. Shout out Jalen Williams, J-Dub, for being awesome. And, that Thunder team is very good. I just think they're too young to actually have playoff success. I think they're going to need another year before they're able to actually make a run for the finals and a championship run. And I think that if they matched up with Dallas or Los Angeles in the playoffs, it's very possible that they don't come out of that series victorious. So think it's possible that ESPN and them would probably have the Lakers or Mavs favored to win. So, yeah. Nonetheless, phenomenal regular season. They're the number 2 seed, and they deserve it. At number 1, the number 1 team in the West is the Minnesota Timberwolves with a record of 43-19. Anthony Edwards has looked great. Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert really shined this year. Mike Conley has looked very good. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has looked very good. Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels. Just a great Timberwolves team. They're ready to make a run at these playoffs, man. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to make a finals run. I can see them in the finals. But yeah, this West is shaping up to be a bloodbath, especially for the play-in spots. At the moment, you got Sacramento, Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, and the Dallas Mavericks all would be fighting out for that play-in tournament. And I think overall, we're going to get a very competitive playoffs in the Western Conference this year. I can only imagine a round 1 matchup of Oklahoma City versus either the Lakers or the Mavericks. It's going to be must-watch TV. Anyways, this has been a long episode. We're already over an hour. I'm sorry about that. But that's going to be it for episode 25. Thank you all for tuning in. If you made it to this point of the video, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. And I'll be sure to respond to any of you out there. I'm going to be doing my best to be more consistent with the podcast videos again. In the meantime, we covered mock draft 1.0 for the NFL. We looked into some NBA standings and where the postseason could entail. We talked about Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. In the next video, I'll be talking about some March Madness, some upcoming NBA draft prospects, possibly an NBA mock draft 1.0. Definitely NFL mock draft 2.0 will be coming out with whoever I bring on as a guest then. But for right now, that's going to be all for this episode. Thank you so much for all your support. And be sure to share this on social media with anyone who's a sports enthusiast. Help make the Just in Time podcast grow with a new subscriber. Hope everybody has a great day. I'm out. Peace.